You flagged something
Mm-hmm.
really interesting recently about a company maybe changing its retirement plan.
That's right. The talk is about shifting from, a guaranteed 10% retirement contribution didn't matter what the employee put in.
Right, automatic.
Automatic, exactly,
Yeah.
to a 10% matching contribution.
Okay, so the company only puts money in if the employee does, up to that 10% limit.
Precisely. So you save 5%, they put in 5%. You save 10%, they put in 10%. You save 12%, they still put in 10%.
Got it. And looking through the materials, the big question that jumps out, and probably what everyone listening is wondering is, well, is this actually good or bad for savings? Will it push people to save more, maybe retire
The
earlier?
opposite.
Or, yeah, could it backfire, lead to people saving less overall, meaning they have to work longer?
Mhm.
That's kind of the mission for us today, right? To unpack that for folks listening.
Absolutely. And the sources we looked at lay out both sides pretty clearly. There's a solid case for why this could boost savings.
Right.
But, there are also some real worries that it might not play out that way for everybody. It's complicated.
Right. So let's start with the optimistic view. Why might this matching system get people to save more?
Okay, yeah. The most obvious group this impacts is people who weren't really saving much before, or maybe not at all,
Under the old system?
under the old system.
Mm.
If the company's already giving you 10% guaranteed, where's the immediate personal financial kick to add your own money?
Mm-hmm. Less urgency, maybe?
Kind of. But now, with the match, every single dollar you put in, up to that 10% of your salary, the company doubles it.
Wow.
That's a 100% return, instantly. That's a really powerful incentive, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It feels like you're unlocking free money, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That dollar for dollar thing has got to grab people's attention, especially if they hadn't started saving seriously yet.
Exactly. It makes their own saving effort immediately feel twice as effective.
And it's not just for the non-savers, right?
Yeah.
What about people already putting a bit away?
Good point. Yeah, for someone maybe saving, say, 3% or 5%, this new deal offers a much better return on what they were already doing if they increase it.
No, so
Well, if they bump their savings up to get more of that match, maybe all the way to 10%, their total retirement addition skyrockets. It's their contribution, plus the company's matching part, plus any investment growth on all of it.
I see. So the potential gain from increasing their savings rate is much higher now.
Much higher. It could be a really strong reason for them to say, okay, I should definitely try to hit that 10% mark to get the full company contribution.
That direct link, my dollar gets me their dollar, seems key.
It is. That psychology of the match, seeing that direct quid pro quo, can be very motivating.
Okay, that covers the potential upside pretty well. The incentives look strong on paper, but
Sure.
let's flip it.
Right.
Why might this change actually cause people to save less?
Right. This is where it gets maybe a bit more complex, looking at different behaviors.
Okay.
One group to consider is the super savers. The people who are already putting away, let's say, 15% or 20% of their own money before this change.
Right, the really diligent ones.
Exactly. Under the new system, the company's help is capped. They only match the first 10% the employee saves.
So that extra 5% or 10% the diligent saver was putting in doesn't get any company match anymore.
Correct. So someone saving 15% might look at it and think, well, the company boost is fixed now based on 10%. Maybe I don't need to push quite so hard with my own 15%. They might possibly scale back a bit.
Huh. So the incentive structure actually changes for the high savers,
Mhm.
potentially leading them to save less. That feels weird, but I can sort of see the
It
calculation.
does feel counterintuitive, yeah. But it's a possibility. Then there's this other idea. The materials mentioned something called the income effect.
Income effect. What's that about?
Okay, think about that guaranteed 10% the company used to put in, even if you save nothing. For people not saving, that might have felt like a baseline amount of future security, almost like free retirement money building up.
Like unearned income, you mean?
Sort of, yeah. A form of deferred unearned income. Now, take that away for the non-savers. Suddenly, their future retirement picture looks less certain, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Less of a safety net.
Right. And here's the tricky part. If they feel less secure about retirement and they value having leisure time later in life, they might paradoxically feel they need to work longer.
Okay, still with you.
And if they feel they need to work longer anyway, the immediate pressure to save right now might actually decrease. It's like, my future's less secure. I might have to work till 70, so maybe I need this money more today.
Wow, okay. That's subtle. So the loss of the guaranteed benefit makes them feel poorer long term, which reduces their incentive to save short term.
It's a potential behavioral response. Yeah, not
Right.
necessarily rational in a purely financial sense, but understandable psychologically.
That's a really important nuance. It's not just about the match itself.
Definitely not. And another potential issue, some people might just see that 10% match figure and mentally lock onto it
As the goal.
as the goal. They might think, okay, the company matches up to 10%. I'll do 10%. That's enough. Even if they could actually afford to save more, like 12% or 15%.
Even if saving more would be much better for hitting their own retirement goals, especially retiring earlier.
Exactly. It's like anchoring, you know? The 10% becomes this benchmark that stops them from thinking about what they really need or could achieve. They just hit the match and stop.
Setting the cruise control at the match level, basically.
That's a good way to put it, even if that speed won't get them to their destination on time.
Right. And is there anything else?
Well, just the basic fact that people have different priorities, you know? Different time horizons. Some people just prefer spending now versus saving for later.
Regardless of the retirement plan details.
Yeah. Debts, lifestyle choices.
Yep.
A change in policy might make them think, but it might not fundamentally change their preference for current consumption over future saving. Someone juggling student loans versus someone debt-free will likely react very differently to this match.
So it's a real mix. On one side, you've got this potentially powerful magnet for non-savers, the double your money effect.
Yep.
But then you might see high savers pull back a bit, and non-savers might feel less secure and actually save less now. Plus, the risk of people just stopping at the 10% match.
That sums it up pretty well. And the sources really stress this. The overall impact, whether total savings for the company's employees go up or down, hinges entirely on the mix of people they have.
Meaning?
Meaning, if most of their workforce wasn't saving much before, this match could be a huge net positive. Lots of new savings spurred by the incentive.
Okay.
But if they already had tons of high savers, or if lots of people just anchor to that 10% match, then the total savings might not increase much. It could even possibly dip.
So for anyone listening who's trying to figure out what this actually means for people's retirement age, it sounds like there's no simple answer. It's not just match means more savings.
Definitely not. It's way more complex. Both outcomes, more saving and less saving overall, are plausible. It just depends on how the incentives and the psychology play out across the whole employee population.
It really shows how much human behavior, not just pure math, drives these things.
Absolutely. Behavioral economics is all over this. People aren't always the perfectly rational calculators that old models assumed.
Which makes you wonder if companies thinking about this kind of switch really understand their own workforce's saving habits and financial pressures.
That's a critical question, isn't it? Having that insight seems crucial to predicting, or at least anticipating, how things might actually unfold.
Well, this has been fascinating. We've really dug into the different angles, the clear upside, motivating saving with that free money match, but also the trickier downsides. Maybe discouraging the super savers, that weird income effect potentially reducing saving for some, and the anchoring problem at the match level.
And ultimately, the net effect is company specific. It depends on who works there and how they tend to manage their money already. No universal formula.
Right. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening to chew on. Think about people you know. How might this kind of policy shift, going from a guaranteed contribution to a match, affect them differently?
Yeah, like a young person starting out versus someone who's been saving aggressively for 20 years.
Exactly. Or someone struggling with debt versus someone comfortable.
Right.
How would they likely react? It really brings home just how varied people's financial lives are and how one change can ripple out in so many different ways. Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.